This is Dr. Lemmon. This is my Q&A series. And so I've got, just because of all the turbulence that's going on, I've been getting a lot of questions about healing. In my context, my study of work, I look at what influences me and what I can influence. So the way I define healing is like, wow, some people can influence me in certain sort of ways. It may be physically by giving you a couple of aspirins and say, get some rest and talk, call me in the morning. Or it may be just having some social time with someone, you feel better. We've all had those kind of experience, or maybe it's an exercise I do, a protocol, or maybe it's me paying attention and eating better food. It's maybe selling old grievances or letting go of things, right? All those things are influences that can affect all of us, right? And they all come under the genre of what people want to call healing, where they want to call it spiritual healing, they want to call it energy healing, they want to call it quantum healing, they want to call it, I don't know, everything you can imagine. Pretty much the title on it has to do more with protocol. I'm not saying that protocol may or may not be important. I'm just saying that it's just all moving around with patterns. So most of the time, it's whatever you feel comfortable with. So to look at the answer to the questions, I'm going to do two models. One, I'm going to say, why did people come to classes when I was teaching in the first place? What was the introductory piece, that is, and what was that range of variables? Because I'm trying to tie a little bit of range into it. And then we'll look at kind of a bigger piece and what happens to that range for you. So let's start out with the small piece. Most people, pretty much it starts out because we have an element called relationship. So we empathize with someone else. You can imagine it's a sliding scale. Here we are somewhere in the middle of the range and we feel someone else. They're over there, another human being. Now, when I say them, feel them, perceive them, if that makes better sense for you to say, see them, smell them, taste them, touch them, you're probably going to get in trouble if you walk over and lick someone's face. So, unless you're a dog. So we're going to probably have to, might even have to kind of curtail feeling and touching a little bit and just be able to say, see, smell, and hear, right? So we're already handicapped with our five senses. We're already limited a little bit. We have this empathetic piece that it's a tough word to use in the United States because for us, we associate so much of empathy with sympathy, right? But a lot of cultures in the world have many different words talking about the different levels of that. It just simply means that I can kind of, if I see you fall down, I can go, oh, wow, that must have really hurt. I can get a sense of a feeling because I have life experience similar to maybe I've fallen down, right? So you get it. So that's an empathetic piece. That's a range, like all these pieces are range, that's a range. So some people sit in the middle. So if I see you fall down, I say, wow, that must have really hurt, and I would be glad to help you. And I feel sorry for you, but also I'm glad that I'm not you, right? I mean, I didn't fall down, you did. I have fallen down, so I understand. I relate to you, I'll help you. We're all on the same page because at some point in time, you might help me. I got it, we got a relationship, I got it. If you're over on this side of the range, I see you fall down and I just say, yeah, stupid idiot. And I just keep going, right? Because there's no relationship. It's all about me, there's nothing in it for me. And if I'm down on the other side of it, I'm going, oh my gosh, I've got to get you to the hospital. I've got to do something. You can sleep on my couch for 2 weeks to get better. It's like, so we call those people in that fringe part runaway healers. It's really not a fair term, but it just means that they're not in the middle of the range, right? Not always easy to be in the middle of the range. That feeling comes like a slam lots of times, just like a fall. Bam, it's a slam. That comes like a slam. And for those people, it knocks them all over there. They want to help. They're really sweet people. They really are, but not always. Some of them all the way over there react by wanting to fix you, to obsession. Some of them all the way over there want to fix you to the obsession to themselves. In other words, they battle, they arm wrestle with, why am I making them more important than me? I got things to do. I can't do this. right? They're battling with that all the time. It's very frustrating. Some of the people all over on this side come back and say, that makes me mad. I am having a wonderful day and some idiot falls down in front of me. And that really pisses me off. And instead of helping them, you're screaming at them being for stupid. You know, what do you think you were doing, you dummy? You can't see the door says push and you're over there pulling on the door and you fall over backwards. What is the matter with you? So you see those range of reactions. It's just simply the reaction is over there from experience, from being in a part of range. It feels a certain way. So you have a familiar pattern in there. It's hard to reteach those ranges, but people take healing class to do that. So the way we do that is we create a new range for them. We say, hey, it's like, you don't have to fix a problem. You don't have to be mad at them. You don't have to be nice to them. You don't have to do anything. You just have to notice, pay attention. Oh my goodness, that person fell down. Wow. And you could say in there, do I need to just walk away? Well, maybe. Do I need to get mad at them? Well, maybe that's an option. Do I need to go fix them? And I need to help them? How much do I have to engage? Wow. So I can create a new range, right? I just create a range. Where's the range? It's not going to be in here. I got to create it somewhere. So I just go out there and I create a range out there. I create a range out there and I say, hey, that person just fell down. So give me some information. I don't know. I have a pattern, but I'm not too sure. Can I help them? Can I be of assistance? Inspire me. What can I do? Maybe they fell down and I'm just going to try and help them up, but maybe they broke their foot and it's going to make it worse. I've seen it happen many times. So it's like, what do we do, right? I just know in search and rescue, it's like, first thing you do is leave them, right? And you get them to relax so that you can get them to get attention to their bodies so they can tell you where it hurts before you move them, because you might have something broken. You don't want it damaged. You don't want a broken rib going through the lungs. So there's a lot of data that you may not have. You need to get that data. I took classes, but you don't have to take a class. You can do a Google search, except you don't use Google. You just put a symbol out there and assign that. In beginning classes, there's too woo-woo for anybody. So we say, oh, here's a spirit guide or an angel or whatever, doesn't matter. With a boogeyman or demon, all right? Demons were real popular at one time. We'd have demons assigned to all kinds of stuff. It's just a nothing. It's an imagined piece. There's a lot of power in imagined pieces. We're looking at influence. So I have an imagined piece. I get a hit on something. It's like, oh, okay. I'll help them up. I'll ask some questions. I'll get them situated. I'll make a phone call for them. I'm out of here. Or I really need to stay with them because they have a concussion and they could just pass out and get hurt even worse. So I better sit here till someone gets here. Or it's like, there's already 2 or 3 people helping them and more people in the kitchen doesn't make for better. So I really need to step out of the way and not make this. So those are decisions. Decisions mean you have information to weigh things out and decide what you want to do. It's, if you're not in the center of your range, you can't make decisions like that. It just doesn't work. You're already compelled to something. So using an outside reference allows you to step back and say, I'm going to be in the center range. I'm going to let it guide me, right? We call it a guide. We call it anything, just a piece of data. You're creating a new range for a situation, and that range will then influence your decision. It's stair stepping. It's like getting a guide. You have a map to go on a trip. It looks a little complicated. You hire a guide and they help you. I've been on trips where guides that got lost. And it's a good thing they were there because they got us unlost, but it can be complicated. So that's all we're looking at. It's like, it's just another layer, really simple, just another layer that sits in there that allows you to be of service, of influence in the moment, and allows you to manage the influence you're getting from watching that. If you're driving down the road after you've seen an accident, you're still talking about it half an hour later, it's influenced you tremendously, right? Because your attention's not that long. You got about a minute, minute and a half at best. If 2 minutes later, they're still thinking about that accident, it's influenced you. And so you get to look inside. You get to put a symbol out there for you, that healing for you. And you can say, wow, what's this influence me? Is a matching picture in here? Some I fell down once, like, wow, that's just kind of intriguing, right? Or what was going on, right? What was going on? And so you get to explore it, and you get to release some things in there that otherwise we're running around fearful that it's going to happen again. So that's the very nature and a whole concept of healing, right? It's like, it's just an influence. So we put together some protocols. I don't care how you do it. You can roll dice, you can chant. Shamans will get, and there's all kinds of structure that you can look at and how the influence works. And there's tons and tons of data. You can just go crazy in this whole world of stuff. But I like to make things really simple. And sometimes when I teach beginning classes, you have to add a little bit of complexity to make them think they're doing something. They don't quite trust in themselves yet. And at some point in time, playing with it a little bit, they become familiar, because then that range gets built. If they build a new range and they have a relationship with it, that will work for them all the time. And if they don't do that, then they're constantly struggling, trying to get that action integrated into the range, and they're trying to figure out, how do I do that? You don't do that. It's a different range. You don't give up you for someone. You don't sacrifice yourself, right? You look at that and you say, how can I influence this? How can I make this all better? How can I facilitate this? And it's a win for both of us. That's the game, right? It usually requires a new range of development. So this is step number one, and lots of questions about it. It's not easy. It requires movement and practice. Always movement and practice, movement and practice, movement and practice. Right? You're always getting out there, finding information that can resolve something, right? Tremendous. I can remember I pulled in a parking lot one time, and I'm looking and I can see flame inside of it's a brand new building, and some of the shops were open, but one, I could see flames inside, something burning in there. And so I get out of the car and I look over there and see it burning, and I see about 4 or 5 people over there shaking the door. They're all frantic. And I'm thinking, what are they doing? So I walk over and I'm looking, it's an empty building, and there's a trash can in there, and somebody must have thrown a cigarette butt, or one of the workers working in there, and it caught fire and it's burning, but there's nothing to burn. I mean, it's just an empty building. So it'll burn itself out. If they got the door open, it would burn longer, right? I said, what are you guys doing? Well, we got to find a way out the door, put the fire out. I said, have you tried the back door? They go, is there a back door? Well, wow. I mean, I'm looking in the building and I can see the back door, the back of that one. I'll walk around the side and see if the back door is open. I mean, it shouldn't be, but might be. But beating on the front door, did anybody call the fire department? Oh yeah, I called the fire department. Oh, good. So they're going to respond to your call. So why don't you stay out front here for sure, and the rest of us go around back. So we go around back, and I turn the handle on the door open. Not only did they throw a cigarette butt in there, but they didn't lock the door either. So I got a guy says, I'll find a hose. I said, this is a commercial building. What, you think there's going to be a garden hose laying out here? I don't think so. I said, let's just step inside and see what we can find. Open the door slow so we don't get a blast. Get back out of the way. Step inside. I'm looking around and there's a piece of plywood. So I take the plywood and put it on top of the can. Fires out. And all those people they're all milling about. And I said, what are you guys doing? And they go, well, we're trying to find something to water or something to put on the fire. I said, the fire's out. They take away the oxygen in the fire goes. So it's out. And they're going, oh, wow, that's amazing. So I walk out the door. I go over and I get my car and I decide, maybe I don't want to go to this store here. It's going to be kind of crazy in a few minutes because they're going to be taking reports. They're going to be asking questions. They're going to be doing all kinds of things. I don't want to be here for an hour. I just was going to run in the store and get something. I'll go find another store. So I got my car and I drive away. And all these people are out there trying to figure out what's going on. And the police are going to get there. Fire department's going to get there. They're going to be there an hour. You get this? Information allows us to do something in a more effective and efficient way, not so frantic, not so trying to look at all the options and make decisions, but to be able to put it into context and frames. That's it. Now, let's do the advanced question. After you've been doing this, I've been doing this work for about 50 years, right? So people come back and say, oh, well, I'm not feeling good. I'm tired. I'm tired of healing. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of doing that. I used to do those and I quit doing them. I didn't get involved. This is what's interesting about the range that you start to build. You start to build a range where you have a selection available so that you can do healings. And if you're doing a lot of healings, and people do this and make money, right? So they're doing a lot of healings, even for 30 years, doing only 4 or 5 a week is still 4 or 5 a week. We're habitual. Pretty soon we're using that range a lot, right? So that range becomes something familiar, and that's something we pull out of our hat now and then when somebody falls down. It's something that we're using maybe 200 days of the 365. So we're getting it. So guess what? It moves to the top of the stack, right? It's always at the top of the stack. And because it's always at the top of the stack, you start to fully identify you as that range because you spend so much time in that range. It's so familiar that it's one of your go-to ranges. So now the range has an influence upon you. Wow, this is really kind of cool. So everything that's going on in your world, we have a very, life doesn't go well, right? Things happen, I got cuts, I got scratches, I got cuts, I got wounds, things don't always go well. I got people that are still mad at me, and I got some that are going to learn to get mad at me. So we got a little ways to go yet. It's just very convoluted. Doesn't go easy. So all this stuff has influenced you in some way, shape, or form. If this sits over here in front of you, wiggling all the time, you are constantly having a dialogue with those pieces that are not. You are constantly healing yourself. One thing to get a healing, sit down, let it process through, and release something. You feel much better. Not perfect. You feel much better. Perfect's not a goal. Remember, the game is that you born and you die. That's the game. Perfect doesn't come into anywhere. Perfect, you still die. So that's not part of the roles. So you sit there and you go, perfect's not important. It's not important. I just need to stay healthy enough so I can keep moving. So this thing is constantly finding problems that need to get a healing. And you're busy doing healing as other people, and it keeps lighting it up. And then you've got this problem going on, and then you've got this problem going on, and it's robbing your attention. And pretty soon, out of the habit of it, you go, wow, I'm just I've been doing healings for 50 years, and now I'm a broken person. Oh, no, you were a broken person to start out with, fool. Geez, because it's not a perfect world. And you did some healings. Don't live in that range. And when you do this for a living, you're spending a lot of time in that range. So get in a habit of creating other ranges that you can go into so you can get free of that. It's not about getting perfect, right? I got some surgery, and the guy said, I'll try to minimize the scar. And I said, no, give me a big scar because I can make up stories about it. And they go, that's, yeah, well, okay, whatever, but, and it's like, already he didn't want to, he couldn't just go along with me and say, yeah, I'll make a really jagged scar. It looked like you fought with. I can remember in Ecuador, we had a guide when we were in Ecuador, and he had this big scar on his head. And my wife said, oh my God, what happened to you? No hair, young guy, no hair. So I figured cancer, right? Chemo, something like that, no hair. Assumption, not right. Maybe, but maybe not. Nonetheless, she said, what happened? He said, a shark got me. We're in Ecuador. So it's like, oh, okay. She said, oh my God, and you survived. And he said, yeah, And then, at that point, we both could tell that he was kind of edging us on. So he said, oh, come on. So he said, no, I had a tumor. It's not cancerous. They had to go in and take it out. It was growing. So they took it out of my brain. And so they sewed me back up again. I'm doing well. I won't need chemo or anything. It's not cancer. It's a growth. But they're trying to figure out, what caused it, and they're watching to make sure it doesn't start to grow again or whatever. It's like I'm sitting there thinking already, I got that range coming up saying, I should talk to him a little bit about, probabilities and consistencies. If he grew one again, he could grow one again. He already's learned how to grow one, so he could grow another tumor. He really needs to disassociate from that. My brain's already going off, and then my wife's over there looking at me like, can you fix him? Can we fix him? And I'm going, he didn't ask to be fixed. So let's just leave it at that. So I want to support him instead. So I'm saying, well, at least you picked a good place to heal, because it's really nice out here, in the islands and stuff, and you're a guide and you get to be out here all the time. That's really quite healing, right? And he said, oh yeah, I couldn't think of a better place. And I go, yeah, okay, now you got a pattern you're working on. Okay, I get this. He's going to be okay. He's not sitting around fretting about it. He's not looking at his schedule for when his next doctor's appointment is. He's got to figure it, right? So he had to go there and get out of the ranges that created this thing to grow. Who knows what that was. And he wants to avoid getting back into them, right? So there's some learning that he needs to go through to manage some ranges that were probably part of trauma or some story, right? But nonetheless, they're there. And even that, we wound up taking him to dinner twice. So my wife didn't quite give up on healing him completely, right? But anyway, it was really nice. He was a very nice person. And so it was all sweet and good. Do you get this? Those patterns can get locked into you. So if you've done some of this, you'll start to notice that really, really important to pay attention to the ranges you play in. That's it. You need to know. It's like, wow, am I going into, does this feel familiar? Wow. If you start getting mad, you go, wow, does this feel familiar? This is a habit pattern I got. This is a pattern, it's a range I'm getting. I'm reacting to somebody did something stupid and I'm getting angry. That doesn't make any sense. People do stupid things all the time, including myself. So I get angry at them. Like, I might tease them a little bit, but it's like, nah, no point in getting angry at them. I just give them a bad time, but I won't get angry. So you start to see that, like, that's just you stepping out of a pattern. That's you stepping out of a range. When you don't use those ranges, they start going to the bottom of the pile and they don't come up very often. Yes, when there's a huge trauma, you'll find all kinds of things. People quit smoking and 20 years later, somebody runs over the poodle and next thing you know, they're smoking a cigarette because it's like, I love that dog. It's like, whatever, right? You see, they just get shuffled around, just like a jukebox. That song doesn't get played very much anymore. It's all a question of playing with ranges. Wonderful. So if that answers some of your questions, I know this is kind of long-winded, but I'm long-winded, so what can I say? So healing is a wonderful thing. In the very, very beginning, you need to devise a range that you can start out by putting yourself in the middle and in control, and not the one that already has a default setting, and you're just playing ping pong all the time with yourself, trying to get to a center, fighting a habit. You need to let that range go and start to build more ranges for you to operate in. Much, much better, right? Learning a new habit is much better than trying to fix an old habit. Start to do things in a different sort of way, right? That's pretty much the clue of it. Build your influences wisely for you, and they serve you well as you influence others. So that note, thank you very much. It's been fun. If I can find a little button here.